Page 46. Continued. Act 5. 22. O love, tormentor, fiend, whose influence like the moon's acting on men of dull souls makes idiots of them, but meeting subtler spirits betrays their course and urges sensibility to madness. Scene 1. Falkland meets Julia and communicates to her the news of the duel between Bob Acres and Absolute. He gives to her the information that he has been unfortunately involved in a quarrel which will drive him out of his native land. Julia is disheartened at the news and proposes to accompany him to any part of the world. She agrees to embrace a life of poverty with her Falkland anywhere under the sun. The frank confession on the part of Julia overwhelms Falkland, and he admits how he was employing a silly device to test her honesty. Julia is offended. She almost comes to the end of her tether. She is being always subjected to insults. Her sincerity is being trifled with. She declares that she will not marry him, but she will never exchange her love with another. She leaves, and Falkland lapses into his usual self-pity and self-condemnation. Falkland, in a soliloquy, expresses his state of mind at the firm resolution made by Julia. He calls himself a fool, a barbarian. He has got an angel, meaning Julia, and like a ruffian he has cast her away. He only pretended to fight a duel with his rival. Now he will do so in reality. Love has been a tormentor, a fiend. Just as the influence of the moon upon the minds of men makes them lunatic, mad, so the influence of love makes dull men idiotic. He calls himself a man of sluggish temper, and love has an evil effect on these men. Page 47. When these men come in contact with sensitive people, they act against their normal habits and are driven ultimately to madness. Falkland indulges in sentimental outpourings when Julia leaves him in anger. 23. And while the freezing blast numbed our joints, how warmly would he press me to pity his flame and glow with mutual ardour. This is from Scene 1. Lydia meets her friend Julia after she has undergone her rude shock of disappointment at the disclosure of the identity of Ensign Beverley. Her fond dreams of sentimental elopement of love in a cottage have been shattered to the dust. She regretfully remembers love's delicious memories which she had fondly cherished in her heart. She used to adopt pleasant devices in order to enjoy even a minute's conversation with the romantic young man. She used to steal forth in the coldest January night to meet him in the garden. She was wet with cold like a statue dripping with dew of snowflakes. He would sit at her feet in a worshipping attitude. He would sneeze and cough pathetically in cold. He used to shiver with cold and she with emotion for the secret meeting. While extremely chilly wind paralyzed their body, he would improve her to sympathize with his love for her. They used to burn with the passion of love for each other. That was called the thrill and romance of love. Lydia regrets the loss of romance of love, of secret meeting with the lover in shivering cold, in a lonely place at night. Now that Beverley is revealed as Captain Absolute, the romance is gone. She cannot have the matter of kind love. She cannot have the matter-of-fact love and conventional marriage. 24. You know, sir, Lydia is romantic. devilish romantic, and absurd, of course. Now, sir, I intend, if she refuses, to forgive, to unsheath the sword, and swear I'll fall upon its point and expire at her feet. This is from Scene 2. Captain Absolute is on his way to Kingsmead Field to meet Bob Acres and Sir Lucius in a duel. Sir Anthony Absolute unexpectedly meets his son. Captain Absolute is carrying a sword. The sword, though concealed, is detected by his father. It is drawn out by Sir Anthony. Captain Absolute tries to exculpate himself by saying that he is going to Lydia to make up matters with her. Lydia is extremely romantic. Her ways and thoughts are extremely abnormal. She does not think like ordinary girls. If she refuses to settle matters with him, he will draw out his sword and fall upon the sword to kill himself in her very presence. Here Captain Absolute gives an excuse to his father for keeping a sword with him. He tries to conceal that he is carrying the sword in order to be engaged in a duel. Her estimate of the nature of Lydia is, however, correct. His estimate of the nature of Lydia is, however, correct. She is devilish romantic. Her ways are abnormal. He knew that to undeceive her was to lose her, but he has no other alternative than to reveal his identity under the circumstances. 25. Sir Lucius, I doubt it is going. Yes, my valet is certainly going. It is sneaking off. I feel it oozing out, as if it were at the palms of my hands. This is from Scene 3. The courage of Bob Acres is vanishing as the time for the duel is approaching. Sir Lucius, however, is resolved to make him fight. He speaks of the ways of fighting, and Acres becomes more and more nervous. Acres is shocked at the very thought of death. He is afraid that the gun might be cocked when Sir Lucius is levelling it against him, just to show how to fight. When Sir Lucius refers to the unpunctuality of the opponents, Acres gets nervous at the very thought of his opponent actually coming up to fight the duel. Page 48. He says to Sir Lucius that his courage is leaving him. It is going away from him stealthily. It is falling away drop by drop through his hands, perspiring through fear and nervousness. Bob Acres is here a very funny figure. The situation is farcical. He is a typical coward soldier who gets nervous at the approach of the hour of duel. He is sweating and perspiring, and he confesses that his courage is slipping away. The man who talked of honor and heroism is shivering in fear. He reminds one of Bobadil and Falstaff. 26. I'll be your second with all my heart, and if you should get a quietus, you may command me entirely. I'll get you snug lying in the abbey here, or pickle you and send you over to Blunderbuss Hall, or anything of the kind, with the greatest pleasure. This is from Scene 3. The courage of Bob Acres vanishes at the time of the duel. He expresses his fear and nervousness at no uncertain terms. Sir Lucius is, however, resolved to make him fight. Captain Absolute and Falkland arrive just then, and Acres, without knowing that Captain Absolute is Ensign Beverley, extends a welcome to him. When Absolute's identity is revealed to him, he boldly declines to combat with Absolute. He says to Sir Lucius that he cannot force him to engage in an unnatural fight, to fight with his best friend. He swears in the name of those mischievous people who support and instigate such unnatural quarrels as fighting with one's best friend. Acres is now enjoying a fun at the expense of Sir Lucius. He is using the words and expressions formerly used by Sir Lucius. If Sir Lucius gets a clean death, quietus is the word used by Sir Lucius, he will make very comfortable arrangements for lying buried in the Abbey Church at Bath. He will also arrange for keeping his body embalmed by a chemical process, in brackets pickle, and sending his body to his home, which is Blunderbuss Hall. Bob Acres is making a fun at the cost of Sir Lucius. He will not fight because Captain Absolute is his friend. Sir Lucius may fight, and if he dies, he will make proper arrangements for his burial. He is paying him back in his own coin. He is using the very words which Sir Lucius used before to buck him up, and thus to frighten him.